I'm delighted to be here. I think that's the best word I can use to describe this kind of inner excitement and curiosity, what's going to happen and what's going to come out and what's going to come out of our being together. Anyway, thank you for inviting me, and yeah, it's always an opportunity for me to, if I give a talk or if I teach something, to explore more deeply and to ask myself, so what does that mean? How does that translate into experience? What's the benefit of that? Where's that going to go? How's it serving my life? So this is kind of the mood of what I'm going to present to you today. It's not conclusive, they're just some thoughts, and hopefully they'll be of benefit to some of you. I'm assuming there's a mixed level of experience here. Some people relatively new to meditation. Some people I know are very experienced meditators. So I'm hoping each of you will take what you find of value for your own practice. So the text I sent around was Befriend Your Mind, an invitation to explore how meditation can serve our life on and off the cushion, and especially during challenging times. So this is the ground I'm going to try to cover to some degree. So in order to befriend your mind, you first need to know your mind, and to some degree be interested in developing your mind. It's not a given. Developing it in a healthy, wholesome, nourishing way. Many years ago I came across a description of a fit mind. Subhuti, for those of you who knows him, is still around, used this description. I thought, oh, that's interesting. You know, we're very into fitness for our body, but what does it mean to have a fit mind? And that just made me curious. And you could say the ultimate goal is to free the mind. So this exploration is moving from befriending to freeing in a way, by transforming the mind along the way. And I'll use the word mind, but what I really mean is chitta. Chitta is this coming together of heart and mind. So if you can hear that. And also when I'm talking about meditation, which is at the heart of Buddhist practice, we could say, I'm not just referring to formal sitting practice. I'm talking really about training our mind. So I often replace meditation by mind training, and that's happening all the time. Our mind is always with us, not just when we sit down to meditate, although that's a particular situation which is very, very valuable for deepening practice. But it's not the only situation. And there are two approaches to meditation. Some of you will be familiar with this, some not so, but take what's helpful for you. There's the approach of the calming practices, when we talk about samatha or shamatha meditation. These are practices that help us to calm the mind. And then we have the counterpart to that, you could say, is vipassana, insight practices. And it's important to see these as being interwoven, enriching and supporting one another. And I hope that might come out a little bit in what I'm going to talk about. But this is important for Buddhist meditation practice, to understand how it can go beyond well-being or using meditation as a relaxation practice. That's in there, but that is not the end. That's not the end of the journey. And I'm going to be looking at the calming practice to start with. And the quality of mind here that we are cultivating is samadhi, you could say. Samadhi is the fruit of calming the mind. With regard to insight practices, we may focus more on mindfulness, on sati, which some of you will know. That enables us, this quality of mindfulness enables us to be more fully aware. Experiencing what's going on and knowing it. This is the meaning of awareness. And that gives us the freedom to choose what is a wholesome way to relate to what's going on. I mean, in a way, that's a pith summary of the journey. But at the moment, I'm particularly interested in exploring qualities of samadhi. Samadhi, the qualities here bring to life a coming together, a bringing together, a gathering, you could say, of energy. Positive, enriching energies coming together. A common or usual way of translating samadhi is concentration. I'm going to avoid that word because it has, I think, can have unhelpful connotations of straining or making the mind narrow. So if we can just put that aside for the moment and explore samadhi more along the lines of this bringing together of body, mind, and the present moment. Sangharakshita has, the Buddhist teacher of the Triratna movement, the founding teacher, has a pithy description of samadhi, being where you are fully, kindly, and mindfully. So kind of, in a way, he's bringing samadhi and vipassana together here. Being where you are fully, kindly, and mindfully. And this will take us, or invite, a kind of calm, peaceful abiding in experience. So it's also, we're making peace with whatever is going on. And in an embodied way, it's not just about what's the head. Meditation is not happening in the head. It's an embodied awareness. It's embodying embodying metta, the practice we've just done. Goodwill, kindness, benevolence. So really living these qualities and not just trying to impose them onto ourselves. So a gathering of energies without strain in quite a natural way. There's another Buddhist teacher that I have a lot of respect for, Bhikkhu Analayo, and his description of samadhi is, it's as if the whole of our experience is held in a gentle and loving embrace, so that all of its usual fragmentation vanishes. Unified, collected, composed. And I think this usual fragmentation, I'm sure we're all familiar with this. We're tossed about by life, can't decide, or pushed and pulled. This fragmentation. But what might it be like to be really in this embrace, this loving embrace of just being with our experience as it is right now? So I thought it might be helpful to look at some of the beneficial qualities of samadhi, and I've put together 6. So the first one is doing calming practice. It's a steadying and strengthening of the mind. Yeah? Helps us to feel grounded. Then, being grounded, we could say, there's the possibility of relaxing more. Yeah? A soothing, a calming of body and mind. Just inviting that to take place. And that can sometimes be like a sense of ease arising, being at ease, which is one of my favourite phrases. You know, this felt sense of being at ease. I'm not fighting, I'm not struggling, I'm not resisting, I'm not needing to make things different or better, yeah, or worse happens anyway. Yeah? But it's this being at ease, relaxing. I find for myself how important relaxation of mind and body is for meditation, and especially for going deeper in meditation. The next factor, I'd say, is as important, if not more important, and this is joy. Yeah? Joy, happiness, contentment with this ease. Joy in our practice, in our meditation practice, in our Dharma life, in our following the Buddhist path, is absolutely essential. If there's no joy, then we need to stop and ask ourselves, what am I doing? Where's the joy gone? Where am I looking for joy? Yeah. So we're happy, not all the time, but we're happy to sit on our cushion. We're happy to explore our mind. And the joy that I'm talking about, that I think, not that I'm just talking about, but I think is being referred to here, it's not a spectacular, intense joy. It's not like the wow of special experiences. It's a subtle joy, like the joy of just sitting here now. You know, maybe you can just contact it. There's a sense of all rightness. That's where it might begin. Or a sense of, oh yeah, this is helping me feel alive, or there's curiosity. It's making me come more alive. Even just a seed of contentment, to be content. I'm here now, I've made this decision to come here, this is my choice. Can I be fully here unless, oh, but I could have done that, or there's the pull to what I'm going to do afterwards. All these alternatives which will feed discontent, dissatisfaction, greener on the other side. Can I be content with the decision I've made? I'm just here, open, curious, with myself. And if there's a seed of joy or contentment, then staying with that, giving it attention, will help it to grow. It's like planting. I don't know if any of you are gardeners. I always have to bring in gardening nowadays at some point. Or you plant flowers or vegetables from seed, and then you nurture them. You give them what they need, and they begin to grow. And these seeds of benevolent qualities of the mind, they're like those little seeds. So we give them our attention, we give them the time of day, we get interested in them, we value them. Joy, in one of the Buddhist teachings, is the proximate cause for concentration. I remember the first time I came across that, I thought, oh my God, it's not trying hard and striving and doing. It's joy that gives rise to this quality of a bringing together of the energies, being more fully present. It's joy. And that is the next factor I'm going to talk about, is this unification Yeah? A collectedness, this coming together, not in a narrow or tight way, not forced. One description I've found interesting is rather than, sometimes we talk about here one-pointedness. So you're focused on one point. And that can be a bit, it can turn into strain. It's a one point that includes everything. Oh yeah, what might that be like? One point that includes everything. And that includes relaxing into the present moment. So again, being where you are fully, kindly and mindfully. This is concentration. This is unification of energies. Deeply satisfying, deeply nourishing. The fifth quality is flexibility of mind, or malleability. I love that word, it's malleable. You know, you're not getting into a rigid, dogmatic approach to practice. This is the right way. You have to watch out for the finger. Yeah, this is the right way. This is how I've learnt it. Yeah, and if that can get tight, and then you hear or you discover in your own experience another approach. Do I have the malleability, the flexibility to try that out and find out for myself? Yeah. I recently was asked to take on another level of responsibility, and I thought, oh God, that's going to really challenge me. And the person who had approached me just kept saying to me, Prasadavati, you find your own way. It has to work for you. And that was the mantra. It has to work for you. So we learn, we acquire the tools, and then we need this flexibility to try out what works for you. There are general guidelines, but take responsibility for your own practice. Following general guidelines, you could say, and being flexible, not deciding beforehand what's right and wrong, or even getting attached to what's right and wrong. Yeah. I think this is important, that we keep practice alive. And what worked for me, let's say 10 years ago, has changed now. Can I go with that? So there's a continual deepening and a developing and coming more to life and being lived. And the sixth quality is a mind that becomes unshakable. And I think this unshakability, this is what I'm going to move on to soon. In difficult times, challenging times, we feel the winds blowing, the push and pull of life. Is there this quality? Can I find it in my own mind and heart, an unshakability? Probably we could also talk here in this connection about deep faith, in my chosen path, in the practice. And in order to deepen that, we need to be unshakable. So this is a kind of mind training that will help transform mind and heart. It's a kind of nurturing or strengthening the mind and heart by paying attention to qualities that will serve our life internally and externally. So on and off the cushion, in our relationships, in our interrelating with life. And these qualities, what I've come to appreciate so much about them, they form the basis for caring for our own well-being. If I don't have this stability in myself, or this joy, or this sense of ease and peace, how can I move interact with the world then, in a way that's going to be wholesome and helpful. So the basis for caring for our own well-being, and then caring for others, and it's the basis for compassion. And it's also the basis for meeting difficulties. So this is the second part I want to explore a little bit more. So we're trying to establish this groundedness, relaxed, contented, the kind of inner strength of the malleability, unification, unshakable. And in life we are faced with uncertainties. We're faced with impermanence all the time, but especially at the present moment, I think. The political and social climate at present, we really are living in challenging times. There's no denying that. And an effect of this could be for, I'm sure, many of us, our familiar, trusted circumstances are under threat. Conditions we may have taken for granted are being threatened. They helped us feel safe, and now we don't know. Will they still be there in a few months' time, in a year's time? We become attached to certain conditions, to certain things being a certain way. They've got their place. We become attached to people. And this becomes even more problematic when we become dependent on them being that way, because they will change. Even if times are not so challenging, they will change anyway. One way or another in life, we're faced with loss, continually. Maybe you lose your work, your job. I mean, it's at the moment I have contact with some people in the USA who work at universities, and because of the clampdowns regarding diversity, they've lost their job, because they don't fit into the system anymore. It's not reached us yet. But some things we think we're safe, we think we can take that for granted, but loss can happen at any time. So losing your job, a relationship coming to an end, losing one's home, illness, loss of certain abilities or faculties, aging, death, death of dear ones, or our own death. These are certainties. Certainty of death, no doubt about that. So, regarding practice then, could the inner stability or strength, the calm and groundedness, be a way to disentangle from the overpowering or disempowering effect of difficulties? Could it serve facing difficulties and not drowning in the difficulties? I'm just going to mention a few things about working with difficult emotions to make this maybe more practical or accessible. The qualities of samadhi that I've mentioned can serve as a source of strength, which give us a kind of staying power in being willing to face difficult emotions. They are part of the human condition, and they're going to be around for a long time, whether we like it or not, and they show up in different guises. So can this inner stability, this staying power, could it take me into developing interest in these difficult emotions rather than, oh, must get rid of this, don't want this? Could I get interested? And this requires a shift in attitude from resistance to openness. It's what's happening anyway. Can I get interested in that rather than needing it to replace it with something else? So the staying power, shifting in attitude, and then bringing in a greater understanding of the nature of these difficult emotions. All emotions are impermanent. The good ones too, sorry to say. Yeah. But they serve us in a different way. They will change, they will pass too. Yeah. Difficult emotions are impermanent. It is their nature to change. So we don't need to make them go away by somehow trying to fix what's going on in our mind. Not getting caught up in resistance or suppressing them. That ends up being a kind of feeding difficult emotions. The more we try to get rid of them, the more we try to resist them, repress them, it feeds them. It's paradoxical. You check it out in your own experience. They just seem to hang around for a long time the more attention we give them. Yeah? The more we feed them. So that's the first thing. Just being open to, they're impermanent. Yeah? Secondly, they're impersonal. Difficult emotions are impersonal. They are not me. They are not mine. Yeah? We all have them. It's part of being human, as I just said. And the problem gets stronger when we start to identify with the emotion. Yeah? I'm a fearful person. I get so angry. Yeah? And we kind of take on an identity of this difficult emotion. Yeah? I'm such a doubter. Yeah? And then, you're just strengthening that by making it personal to yourself. We believe in their power. We create stories around these emotions. And that just, again, makes them stronger. It's a kind of food for them. So difficult emotions grow by trying to resist them or believing in them. So what's a constructive way of meeting them? First of all, then, acknowledging, observing what's actually going on in your experience. Know what you're feeling when you're feeling it. Now, in real time. We name it. Maybe there's fear. And turn to feeling it in the body. How is it manifesting? So this is how we get interested, rather than projecting into the future or getting caught up in the past. Worry and fear are often about the future, are they not? Yeah. Anger, resentment, is often about something that's happened. Yeah. So the more I go into the story about that, or the more I lean into what I'd like to happen, I'm not here, now. So this naming and feeling it in the body can help me develop a different kind of relationship, a constructive relationship with what's actually painful or difficult right now, without needing to get rid of it, without needing to solve it in a way, to fix it. I can get interested in its flavour in the mind. I know doubt very well. Yeah. Doubt has accompanied me for a long, long time. And at one point, I just had to turn to it and say, I want to get to know you. And I started to explore it. What does it actually feel like? How does it show up? Yeah. Without needing to do anything with it then. Another really helpful thing we can do is to explore, is there an underlying belief or story or a view or an attitude that feeds this emotion? These beliefs or stories or views kind of lock the emotion in. It's another way of saying it gets fixed then. I'm right and they're wrong. I'm okay, he's the baddie. Feeds the fire. The story feeds the fire of the emotion. So what about if we try and drop the story? Doesn't mean we feel good then, suddenly, but this turning to what is actually showing up in my experience right now, turning to the felt sense, maybe of fear or anger, dropping the story and seeing what happens. So what we're doing here is we're applying qualities of samadhi that are going to be helpful on our way to freeing the mind. Not getting rid of difficult emotions by resisting or pushing them away, but getting interested in them on a different level of our being. And there's a verse in one of the Buddhist suttas that says, what we dwell on becomes the inclination of our mind. What we dwell on becomes the inclination of our mind. So if I dwell on the anger in a way that I'm feeding it by going over again and again, this ruminating and telling the story again and again, that is going to make it grow. And it's like as if it takes on a life of its own then. You can substitute any other difficult emotion for the anger. So we can ask ourselves, what kind of seeds do I want to plant in the garden of my mind and heart? And if I spend time familiarizing myself with a quality of joy perhaps, or a stability, a groundedness of being, feeling at ease or really present, that will also grow. What we dwell on will become the inclination of our mind. So this means befriending, getting to know the wholesome qualities of mind and heart, really inviting them in, spending time with them. And that includes acknowledging our own inner strengths, weaknesses, and tendencies of mind. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. Doesn't mean that, it doesn't mean anything, it just means that's a tendency of your mind, full stop. It's like experiencing the mind from the inside out, rather than sticking on labels. My mind, I think honestly say, used to have a tendency to worry. About 15 years ago, I became aware of this, and it was just like, my God, it was as if somebody had pressed a button and something was released, because I was able to acknowledge and see my mind has a tendency, or this mind has a tendency to worry. It wasn't like, oh, you're such a worrier, Prasadavati, you're always worrying, the self-judgment, the self-criticism. It's just this mind stream, we could even say, has a tendency to worry. So acknowledging that, getting interested in that, is a way, that's what I mean by befriending and freeing the mind. Now I know worry, we're kind of very familiar with another, but we've changed our relationship now. It's lost the power to kind of make me feel small and something wrong with me. And I think this is helpful because A, it helps us change our relationship to difficulties, what we perceive as difficulties, and we can wake up in the middle of the difficulty, in the middle of confusion, in the middle of stress. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to end with some words of the Buddha. I know of no greater happiness than a well-developed or well-trained mind. I know of nothing else that causes as much harm as an untrained mind. So our mind is the most precious thing we have. It is our greatest wealth. It holds the potential for deep happiness and for liberation from suffering. And it is through this kind of mind training, meditation, as well as other practices on the path, that the nourishment for the liberating of heart and mind can be found. And consequently, it informs how we are in the world, how we meet life. So it's not just about me, it's about us. It's about being connected rather than feeling separated. It's about maybe helping others, being present in a way that's of benefit.